Hello and welcome to the CYF Course. Today we will speak about hospitality, which is one of the main ministry that is being done with families. And this is something so important that we find many examples and exhortation in the Bible, as we will see together. Someone said, I firmly believe that if Christians would open their homes and hearts and practice hospitality as defined in the scriptures, we could have an impact on society and play a major role in its spiritual, moral, and emotional redemption. Wow. Hospitality is a precious ministry, and we need to encourage our family to practice it in a regular way. The historian Adolf von Harnack said the following: the practice of hospitality in Christian homes has done more to stimulate the growth of Christianity in the first 3 centuries than anything else. That's very interesting, because when we speak about church growth, we tend to speak about evangelism in the street, crusades, and lots of stuff like that, and which is very important too. But the basis of Christian growth was the hospitality of Christian families. And someone in the Roman Empire complains about the Christians, saying they not only love their own poor, they take care of ours. So Christians were demonstrating their love by opening their homes and offering who they were to people around them, and that was so precious. It really touched the people around them, especially in time of crisis, in time of disease, where Christians were really serving the people around them. What is hospitality? Hospitality is simply opening one's home to welcome strangers. This can be lived with Christians, by welcoming a prayer cell, a missionary couple, or a poor family from the neighborhood, for example, as well as non-Christians, neighbors, parents of our children's classmates, one of their teachers, the extended family. It can be for a meal, for a weekend, for a week, or more. As the home opens and others are fed, clothed, welcomed, bathed, housed, the family shares who they are with others and serves in one of the most personal and richest ways possible. Hospitality embodies the love of Christ. Through it, we share our family, our home, our finances, our food, our privacy, and our time. Actually, it is our very life that we share with others. Some cultures are especially known for their hospitality, like Oriental cultures. We see that if you ask for hospitality to someone, he cannot refuse. It's part of the culture. It's a matter of identity. We see hospitality also in literature. A very known example is Les Misérables. The French writer Victor Hugo described Jean Valjean, a former convict who is now released and who is welcomed by a priest. And during the night, he robs some of the silverware of the priest and he flees away. And he's caught by the police, who brings him back to the priest and said, "Oh, we found your robber. He has all your silverware." And the priest comes to him and says, "Oh, my friend, you forgot another one that I wanted to give you too. No, he hasn't robbed anything. I freely gave it to him." And because of that, he was not put in prison again. And he was so touched by the love of this priest that he became a Christian and decided to do good to others around him. That changed his life. The hospitality and generosity and forgiving heart of this priest was such an example for him that it changed his life. And through him, it changed the life of others. That's powerful. And you know, the Bible is full of stories of hospitalities. It's full of exhortations to hospitalities. Let's see some of them. In 1 Peter 4:9, offer hospitality to one another without grumbling. Hospitality is not just a command you have to do, and you do it because it's in the Bible. No, it should flow out of a heart full with the love of God that you wish to share generously with others. Romans 12 verse 13. Share with the Lord's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. This is just expected as Christian, that you are hospitable to others. Hebrews 13:2. Do not forget to show hospitality to strangers, for by so doing some people have shown hospitality to angels without even knowing it. So we see here that it's not just about people we know, but sometimes someone who is needing a bed for the night, you don't know, but you open your house, you open your home to this unknown person, and this is an opportunity for them to taste the values that inhabit you and to get in contact with the gospel. Hospitality was actually expected from leaders. We see in the different lists in Timothy and Titus about how to choose elders or bishops or deacons, that hospitality was at the heart of the qualities expected from the leaders. Let's see 1 Timothy 3 verse 2. Now the overseer is to be above reproach, faithful to his wife, temperate, self-controlled, respectable, hospitable, able to teach. Hospitality is really one of these qualities of leadership. Titus 1 verse 7 and 8. Since an overseer manages God's household, he must be blameless, not overbearing, not quick-tempered, not given to drunkenness, not violent, not pursuing dishonest gain. Rather, he must be hospitable, one who loves what is good, who is self-controlled, upright. He must be hospitable. And 1 Timothy 5 verse 10, and this person is well known for her good deeds, such as bringing up children, showing hospitality, washing the feet of the Lord's people, helping those in trouble, and devoting herself to all kinds of good deeds. And that was how we can recognize a widow that can be supported by the church. We find some incredible examples of hospitality in the Word of God. One of the most significant for me is the story of Abraham in Genesis 18, verse 1 to 5. Abraham was seated under a tree and he was just waiting. And God came on earth with two angels to go to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. But first they stopped at Abraham. Let's read. The Lord appeared to Abraham near the great trees of Mamre, while he was sitting at the entrance of his tent in the heat of the day. Abraham looked up and saw three men standing nearby. When he saw them, he hurried from the entrance of his tent to meet them and bowed low to the ground. He said, "If I have found favor in your eyes, my Lord, do not pass your servant by. Let a little water be brought, and then you may all wash your feet and rest under this tree. Let me get you something to eat so you can be refreshed, and then you go on your way, now that you have come to your servant." "Very well," they answered. "Do as you say." And this is amazing. Can you picture it in your mind? Abraham sitting at the entrance of his tent, almost waiting for someone to pass by so he can serve and exercise hospitality. And when he sees these people, I'm not sure he recognized God, but it is said that he hurried from the entrance of his tent to meet them, and he bowed low. Can you see him running, this old man running to the Lord? "Lord, if I have found favor, do not pass your servant by. Please stop at my place." It's like he's begging the Lord to come to his place. And he himself brings something to eat. This is such a powerful example of a man looking around who he can serve. The Lord has given you a home, an apartment, a family, and this is not just for you to enjoy. This is a way to serve Him. This is a way to extend his kingdom. This is a way to show his heart, to show his love, to show his welcome, to show hospitality, to love the strangers. Not the one you know and maybe who will invite you in return, but the strangers, the foreigner, the one who cannot give you back anything. Now we see the woman in Shanim building a room for Elisha. We read this story in 2 Kings 4 verse 8 to 10. One day, Elisha went to Shanim, and a well-to-do woman was there, who urged him to stay for a meal. So whenever he came by, he stopped there to eat. She said to her husband, "I know that this man who often comes our way is a holy man of God. Let's make a small room on the roof and put in it a bed and a table, a chair and a lamp for him. Then he can stay there whenever he comes to us." This is powerful, just building a new room to welcome the man of God when he comes. I know a family of friends. They had a big house and they decided to build a studio in the first floor to welcome for several months or even years some servants of the Lord. And I know some friends from YWAM, they lived there for 2 years. My wife and me, when we started to live by faith and we had almost no money, they invited us to stay in their home. We paid a little bit, but it was an act of hospitality to encourage people in their service for the Lord. And God is seeing that, and God will be faithful also to give back to these people. You can see the hospitality of Martha and Mary also. Many times Jesus and his band of disciples, they stopped by, and you can imagine Jesus plus 12 guys, plus many people around, and these 2 ladies welcoming and hosting them and cooking food. In Luke 10 verse 38, it is written, "As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him." So hospitality was just a way of life, and it's part of the biblical character that we need to emulate and develop in our hearts today, whatever culture we live in. In some cultures hospitality is very developed, in other cultures maybe it's poorer, but we still need to grow in that, and this is following the biblical examples. Another example that is very strong is the Good Samaritan. It's another kind of hospitality. We read his story in Luke 10 verse 33 to 35. "But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was." And we speak about this man who was beaten and stolen and lying on the ground hurt. "And when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. 'Look after him,' he said, 'and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have.'" Well, this is not being hospitable in his own home, but this is paying for the guy to recover, paying an inn, paying food, paying care. This is such a beautiful example of how we can love the foreign, how we can love the stranger, the one we don't know. Another example is Priscilla and Aquila. We read about them in Acts 18 verse 24 to 26. "Meanwhile, a Jew named Apollos, a native of Alexandria, came to Ephesus. He was a learned man, with a thorough knowledge of the scriptures. He had been instructed in the ways of the Lord, and he spoke with great fervor, and taught about Jesus accurately. Though he knew only the baptism of John, he began to speak boldly in the synagogue, and when Priscilla and Aquila heard him, they invited him to their home and explained to him the way of God more adequately." Beautiful hospitality exercised by a couple who are in ministry together, and they invite people in their home, and they make Bible study, and they may even personal Bible study with one person to explain the ways of the Lord to him. This is hospitality. Lydia, we read her story in Acts 16 verse 15. She was the first convert in Europe. When she and the members of her household were baptized, she invited us, this is Luke speaking from the apostolic team of Paul, she invited us to her home. If you consider me a believer in the Lord, she said, come and stay at my home. And she persuaded us. And we see again this persuasion. I want you to come. It is not just saying, oh, if you want to come, you can. But this is an insistence. I want you to come. I persuade you because I want you. I want to share the love of God with you. We see the same in the jailer of Philippi. Acts 16, verse 33 and 34. This is the same city of Lydia, actually. At that hour of the night, the jailer took them and washed their wounds. Then immediately he and all his household were baptized. The jailer brought them into his house and set a meal before them. He was filled with joy because he had come to believe in God, he and his whole household. And here you see the jailer welcoming the prisoners, especially Paul and Silas, in his house. He cooked a meal for them, and he was so filled of joy because of hospitality. His entire household came to the Lord. So when you share who you are, when you share your family, all your family can be blessed also in return. A last example is Publius in Acts 28 verse 7 to 9. There was an estate nearby that belonged to Publius, the chief official of the island. He welcomed us to his home and showed us generous hospitality for 3 days. His father was sick in bed, suffering from fever and dysentery. Paul went in to see him and after prayer placed his hands on him and healed him. When this had happened, the rest of the sick on the island came and were cured. Once again, generous hospitality, and this is not one who gives and the other receives. There is one who gives and the other who gives too. Different kinds of good, spiritual good, and healing is coming, and having a breakthrough in Publius' father. This is beautiful. Welcoming the stranger, practicing kindness to visitors. Hospitality in Greek is philoxenos, the love of the stranger. May God bless you as you ponder on this topic of hospitality. It's not just a topic among others. It's not just one activity that you may do as a Christian family. It's just the lifestyle of the kingdom where you share who you are with people who don't know Jesus, with people who know Jesus, with people who serve Jesus. And there is an exchange where you give and you receive. And I'd like to put a few questions that you can ponder together, talk about and pray together, and share around these questions how this aspect of hospitality is developed in your own culture. What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? Which of the examples we've talked about is the most relevant for you and why? And maybe you can share also some of your personal experience of hospitality that was especially good for you. May the Lord bless you.